welcome to Stage Life Monday. I'm so excited that you're here. My name is Heather, and this is Confidence Through Cabaret. And this is our first edition of Stage Life. So, at Confidence Through Cabaret, if you're new here, we talk about personal life, work life, and stage life. And we do this on different days of the week in our video logs. We also feature it in our podcasts in different ways and also in our blogs in different ways. So, when we think about stage life, a lot of us think, I'm not on a stage. This isn't really for me. But actually, Confidence Through Cabaret is about using the tools of cabaret to inform how we show up with confidence. So we always say start from where you're strong, start from where you are confident or where you're most confident, and then look for ways that you want to be more confident and ways that you want to develop and feel that confidence. So when we start from where we're strong, we're able to use those tools to develop into the areas that we want to develop confidence in. And the beautiful part of that is that you have most of the strategies, or you at least know about most of the strategies that you would need to build confidence. And so we look for transferable skills and transferable ways. And with stage life, we might sometimes be talking about a literal stage, and my co-pioneer Ryan has spent a lot of years on stage, and we'll definitely have some chats about what it's like and what it's about to be on a stage, if that's what you want to be in a literal sense, in a performance sense. But of course, now since 2020, a lot of us are finding that our stage is virtual. Our stage is online like this. Our stage is on Facebook or Instagram lives. Our stage is in connecting with people. For a lot of us working at home, it's about sharing our content with colleagues on Zoom or running conferences on Zoom. I think that when we hear certain words, it can trigger things. For example, my work in corporate training is all about presentations and connecting and sharing your voice and communicating in a way that's understood. And so a lot of the work that I do is helping people make presentations. And that's typically face-to-face, but not only. And I think it's interesting when you hear the word presentation, a lot of us go, oh, I mean, even me, I've been training for a very long time. I've had my own training business for 25 years. I was training before that for quite a bit more years. I think that when I think of the word presentation, I think, oh no, I'm presenting and it's going to be measured and judged. And so, but actually, do you know what? It's not different if I'm training, even though that word is comfortable for me. If I'm facilitating, that word is comfortable for me. If I'm just sharing information, that word is comfortable for me. So sometimes it's associations we make with language. And we have meaning in those languages or in those words in our language. And so stage is one of those words. We talk about stage fright, for example. But I really wanted to spend some time on our first time with Stage Life, really thinking about ways to show up. So if you're here, you're probably online. That's highly likely. And so you've shown up online, even if you're showing up to watch or learn or get involved in a more passive way. And by the way, please do like and subscribe and comment below. Like, don't be passive. But if you want to be passive, you can. That's one of the beauties of an online world. And, I think our perspective on online has changed quite a lot. We used to think about online as a great way to get information and connect. And then it kind of went through a period where people were saying this is really very toxic and it's eating all of our time. And I think for some of us, that's still true. But it's also been a saving grace. Can you imagine going through COVID without having connection, without having this online world? And so it might be that your way of showing up is by going online and looking for information and trying things that way. Others of us want to grow business and want to express and explore and attract and connect with others. For example, we have Confidence Through Cabaret community on Facebook, which is very active, and a lot of people, share their confidence where they want to grow more confidence, where they want to to share with others how they can grow more confidence. A lot of us, it's about our body, and it's about just like showing up and saying, this is me. And that's why we started Confidence Through Cabaret, because Ryan and I love the tools of Cabaret that are all about taking up our space and owning it. And this was very difficult for me for a long time. And there's a lot of research talking about the Superman pose or the Superwoman pose, and just standing and taking up space before we did a presentation, for example. And it changes the hormones, and it sends hormones for us that give us more strength and power and ability to be able to express ourselves. For some of us, we tend to make ourselves quite small, and that can physically cause us to or show that we're not comfortable in the space, but it can also cause us to keep our voice more quiet. And so when we say showing up and when we say using the tools of Cabaret, we talk about taking up space and owning it. We talk about using our voice and expressing, and whether that's written or verbal. And we also talk about, sharing our story, and whether that's your personal story or your work story or something that you think or feel and want to share. And those are fundamental tools of Cabaret, because if you went to a Cabaret show, or any show for that matter, and you're watching somebody on a stage, especially if you paid for it, then if they're playing it very small and they're not really expressing their voice and they're not really sharing their story, then it's very hard to connect with that. So I'm not talking about, if you went to a play and somebody's character was meant to be very small and very quiet, but they would still need to be expressing their story. They would still need to be sharing some sort of narrative. And how we do that is different for each of us. Some of us like to express through our body, and we like to express through movement, and we like to feel good in sharing our expression this way. And in fact, I'm so excited. On Wednesday, you guys, our podcast on Confidence Through Cabaret, anywhere you get your podcasts, or confidencethroughcabaret.com, you'll find our podcast on Wednesday. And we are talking all about that with the amazing Alice Zephyr. And that is just about how do we express and how do we feel good in ourselves, because we have to start from where we're strong. So we start from, how do I feel within my own body? How do I express in my own body? What do I even want? What do I want to express or share? And it's not really about, oh, do I look how I want to look? Or do I have my words all pre-prepared? Or have I done all of my technology, years of research, which it can't take that long. It's more about showing up and the ways that we show up. How do you want to show up? So I would say start from, where are you already showing up? If you're showing up on a Zoom call with your colleagues, that's showing up, or your family even. If you're showing up by commenting on social media, that's showing up. If you are going for a walk and, well, these days, socially distancing safely, waving to your neighbors, that's showing up. And I went through quite a period of time in 2020. As a true extrovert, it's unlike me, but I went through a time of not wanting to show up, wanting to stay hidden, and I'm a person who ran global conferences for big audiences for many years. So showing up and not showing up was quite a contrast. I went from showing up every day in audiences that were new and different each time to, I don't even want to get out of bed. Like, I don't want to show up in any sort of way, even for myself. So if you want to show up for others, if you want to show up and be seen, and not all of us do, but if you do want to be able to show up, then you have to show up for yourself first. And so it's about taking small steps. We have an amazing masterclass on confidencethroughcabaret.com. When you make a profile, you'll be able to see the masterclass that Erica Bowen did on hope, which is about small steps. Check it out on confidencethroughcabaret.com, definitely. But these small steps are so important for us. These small steps are about getting up, are about getting ourselves ready, are about how we talk to ourselves, and what we tell ourselves, and quieting that toxic best friend, whatever you've named them in your head. And it's about really just thinking about your intentions. My intention is to share, in this case, uh, ways to show up. So that's what I'm doing. And that means that I have to get ready. I have to get showered and dressed. And I mean, you don't even have to get dressed online these days, but that's the choice. But it's about, for me, getting up and getting ready and showing up. And then it's about sharing what I wanted to or intended to share. And when we do this, then it feeds on itself. And sometimes we stop at step 1 or 2, and sometimes we make it all the way to step 22 or more. But when we show up as expression, and when we show up as energy, and when we show up in whatever way we desire to show up, when we show up in space, that is key. So if you did want to be online, for example, then you can try lots of different things. You can try making YouTube videos and keeping them unlisted. You can try having a friend there with you. I know Ryan had to be with me for the first several. Even though I'm used to talking to people, I didn't feel so comfortable without the response that I'm used to live. And these are pre-recorded, so that makes it even more I'm really talking to myself. But I am expressing in a way that I want to reach others. And I remember that in my own thoughts when I'm about to record. So, but you can try recording yourself. I'll be honest with you, sometimes I don't watch these back, or I'm okay with it now, but for a long time I didn't want to watch it back. I didn't feel comfortable with it. I was very self-critical. And the more you do that, everybody says this, the more you do it, the easier it gets, the more comfortable you get with it. And for some of us, it takes a while. And for some of us, it happens quite quickly. But just showing up and making a recording, just showing up and moving within your body, just showing up and having your message, you can write that down. There are lots of apps and tools you can do that with. You can use paper and pen. You can go old school. You can make notes for yourself. I'm a true extrovert, so I only need to think for a moment, what am I talking about? And then words come. In this context, I'm fortunate. There are lots of contexts where extroversion is not so helpful. For example, when I'm coaching, I really have to rein it in. And I'm on a different stage when I'm coaching, because I need to connect with my own breath and be truly present in what someone else is saying. And in that sense, that's a stretch for me. And that is something that I can do, because we can all do that, but it's something that takes conscious effort for me. Whereas for some of you, showing up like this on a video or commenting even on social media, I mean, if you've never even commented on social media and you want to have a social media or online presence, just start there. Just start with commenting. Just, be honest and authentic in your message, and you'll show up and people will see. And maybe they don't like, it's not about likes. It's really not. What's interesting is I've heard these messages about it's not about likes and it's you get used to it. I've heard these things for a long time. And what I've realized, or at least learned to accept, is that, these things do take time, and you are reaching people, and it does matter. And your voice and your presence and your energy, it matters. I mean, that's what we have, right? And especially now when I'm from Canada, but I'm in the UK right now. So we are on lockdown as I record this, and have been for quite a long time. And this is what we have. And so this is how we share. But it's kind of, I used to really struggle with this statement, but now I kind of get it. People used to say it's selfish to not share. Why are you holding all this in? You have so much to say. And I subscribe to that. However, some days when I didn't want to get up, or I didn't want to show up to connect with others, I felt like, well, selfish is okay. But now now I'm in a place where I want to show up and my intention is to show up. And do I do it perfectly? No. I mean, how many times have I ummed and paused and, just on this recording? But, the more that we do that, the more that we hear ourselves. And this cannot be underestimated. Do you know, this is about you hearing your voice and hearing your story and hearing what you want to express and hearing your, I'm going to say, performance, your communication on your stage. And that's important. That's important because it matters to you. It matters to me that I'm expressing my message. It matters to me that I remember that I do know what I'm talking about. It matters to me that I can reach out to others. And it certainly matters to me that we all feel confident and we all feel acceptance of ourselves in our body, in our mind, in the way that we choose to. So I have no advice about how you should, like what kind of things you should say. I would say just let it out. Hear yourself share those things. And over time, and it is just time, over time, then you'll start to smooth your message out and you'll start to really know what it is that you want to say. If you're somebody who has introverted preference, that means we think inside of our head, we build trust more slowly, we like to break things down a little bit, then maybe a podcast is not the baptism by fire to start with. Maybe you start with comments. Maybe you even start with a blog instead of a podcast. And then you can use that blog as your template for showing up on something like a podcast or something like a recording. But the way that we show up, even if it's with our family, is important. Now, I have my mother passed away recently, but my father is still alive in Canada, and we used to meet on FaceTime, and we still do. My father and I still meet on FaceTime, and a couple of my sons, we still meet on FaceTime once a week. And my dad did not like video calling and video conferencing. He was just like, not only just like didn't like it, he was like, no, like almost like against it. It was like, and my son, when he lived in Canada, he used to show my dad, look, mom's on the phone here, look, talk to her. And he was happy auditory to talk, but he didn't really want to do the video thing. And what he's learned in lockdown, because of course it's terrible when you're locked in and you're alone and you don't have your family around you, and he's in a senior's home, so he doesn't have a large room or anything, he doesn't have a house anymore. Then he suddenly realized that he needs to show up. Now he's 87-ish, and he suddenly realized he needs to show up. He was a university professor, right? So he was used to being in lecture halls and sharing information and his expertise. And he was loved because he was so able to communicate in a room full of people. But he stopped showing up and he found it really difficult. And now, even just on FaceTime, just even having that chat, we can see one another laugh, we can see one another cry, we can see one another, share. And that matters. It matters for us, and it matters for others, and it matters for connecting. Sorry, I'm a little, that's triggered me a little bit, but I'm still showing up. Yeah. So for my parents, they were in separate nursing homes. They didn't see each other except for FaceTime calls, but they showed up. And my mum would always say, oh, my hair's not right today. And during lockdown, it got quite long, actually. She ended up with a ponytail, funny enough. But, just to be able to see one another and connect with one another, that's important. If that's too much, then, like I say, sending messages, texting messages, messages on Facebook groups. Have a community if you wanted your own community, if you wanted to share a specific niche. Join other people's communities, but show up. And that's what we mean by stage life. We mean showing up for ourselves, and we mean showing up for the audience audience. It doesn't have to be a judgmental kind of they're there for entertainment, but the audience, the people who will connect with you, they are your audience. And it matters for them that you show up. Your voice is important. We love having you here in Confidence Through Cabaret. We love that you're here. I will be showing up every Monday through Friday. I show up in a blog every week. We show up with masterclasses on our website, confidencethroughcabaret.com. We show up in our social medias constantly. I mean, I'm actually one of these people now who I did not like social media, and I'm actually one of these people who is constantly on social media, and not because I love it, but because I love connecting with people and I love hearing people's stories. And if you have a story or you want to share, comment below, get in touch with me. We're on all the social medias. Confidence Through Cabaret is our name on all the social medias, and of course our website is confidencethroughcabaret.com, except Twitter is at YBYWYS. And I'm on Clubhouse as at Heather YBYWYS. And what do those letters mean? They mean, to us in Confidence Through Cabaret, it is your body, it's your world, and it's your stage. Thank you for joining. See you tomorrow.